What's up, everybody? This Isaac with Diamonds and Wood Customs, coming at y'all with part 3 of the Continental kit, bumper kit install. In this video, I'm gonna go ahead and mount the bumper kit onto the car, give y'all a little bit of pointers on the install of how I do it, and getting the top shell mounted on there, putting the pump on there, and letting y'all see the final view of how it looks once it gets done. The next thing I want to point out is if you have a plastic bumper or you have some bumper trims like this that are already painted, go ahead and tape it up so that way you're not scratching up none of your paint. First thing that I do after I go ahead and tape it all up is I find a center line, which I would just measure from each side. You can kind of eyeball where it is already with the center line from the body of the car and the emblems and stuff. You're pretty much gonna be dead on center right there. So once I find my center line, I go ahead and just make a little mark on there, and that'll give me my center point to where I can know where to line the bumper kit on. But the next thing is, on these older kits, some of them have different body lines as far as where the bumper kit goes, how it's made. For different cars that they came on, there's different body lines. So you can see right here, it kind of goes down and then it kind of, follows this line back here. So you just want to get you a template, transfer that template onto the bucket and cut it out, so that way whenever you put your kit on there, it sits nice and flush up against the bumper. You don't want to have like a big old oval and a gap in there, or you don't want to see a different shape. That way whenever it gets mounted on there, it's nice and flush. The next thing I want to go over is also, whenever you're fixing to mark the holes, you want to go ahead and make sure that the kit is level. So you'll want to put it on a level surface, as much as possible. Some cars might be, unaligned as far as the suspension and stuff. So you'll want to put like a level on top, make sure that it's level. The height of it, you kind of want to keep it even with your bumper, wherever your bumper is. You don't want to have it too high, because then if you have it too high, the shell's gonna reach out way over the trunk lid of the car, and you don't want that. You want it to look nice and even. Also, if you put them too low, you risk when you're coming down a hump and a driveway or something, you risk scratching the bottom of the bucket. And if you hit it too hard, you can actually damage your kit, you can damage your bumper. So you just want to make sure that it's level and not too low facing down and not too high facing up. You want it to look straight across, even flowing with your bumper. Once I have it all the way that I want it, I go ahead and mark my holes. So all the original kits, they come with 3 existing holes already right here on the back plate. This one is gonna be a little bit different because these holes actually align on the dip that goes in the back for the original place where the license plate went. So instead of me drilling longer holes and it's kind of right on the curve, I went ahead and made 2 extra holes over here a little bit closer, so I catch the flat part of the bumper on the outside and not on no curves or inside where the license plate used to go, and which would cause for it would call for a longer bolt. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark my holes. I have tape right there, so I can just give them a little cut in there. I'll do the same on this one. Make sure you get it centered as far as where you're making your mark, because also if you make this one lower or this one higher or vice versa, you're gonna get a tilt in your bumper. So you want to make them and drill them as straight as possible. Another thing I want to mention is the center line that we marked. Whenever it's marked on the middle of the bumper kit, there's usually always a slit right down the middle, which would be the center mark for both sides of the bumper kit. Or you can also get you a tape measure and measure from left side and right side that it's the same on both ends, and that'll give you, you know, a reference point onto how even you are. You don't want to have it too much to the left or too much to the right. You want it on dead center as close as possible. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'll remove the bumper kit now, so you can see right here where I drew my center line. And then now I know my hole's gonna get marked right there. And there's my other hole over there where I'm gonna drill the holes out at. Before you drill any holes, make sure you don't have any wires, any gas lines or anything behind the bumper before you start drilling, because if you drill and you catch one of those wire harnesses or a line or something, you know, you can damage the vehicle, and then, you know, you'll be in for a bigger problem. So just make sure that behind the holes, you know, you're free to drill. This one right here is all bumper. It's all, you know, the metal, the frame of the car. So yeah, you know, I didn't really have anything to worry about. But yeah, man, always make sure that you're free to drill from the back of the bumper before you start. All right, so now for drilling my holes, I like to start out with a smaller drill bit. That way I can go ahead and make a pilot hole in there. And once I make the pilot hole, it's a little bit easier for the big drill bit to go through. You know, if you started it off with this big one, you're gonna be doing a little bit more pushing and you know, putting a little bit more force into it. So I go ahead and make a small pilot hole first. Try to keep your drill bit level. Alright, for a little you know, tip of the trade, I like to use some of this cutting fluid, and it gives you a you know, just a smoother cut. That way the drill bit don't have to work so hard. So just put you a little dab on there, let it work its way. Just find the hole. Alright, so now once you got your holes drilled, you'll want to go ahead and get your bolt. Then go ahead and test fit the bumper kit on there. So now we know that the bumper kit's gonna line up. We see how it's mounted on there. Once we do that, we'll go ahead and tighten up our washers and our lock washer and our nut on the back and tighten it down. And then we'll put the lid on here and see how it fits up against the car. That way we can go ahead and figure out how we're gonna mount our pump next. All right, so we got the bumper kit on here already. I went ahead and put my edge trim. Doing a little test fit right now. I got the bolts all the way threaded through. I got them on there just hand tight, just so you know, we're just doing a test fit right now. So what I'm gonna do now is put the top shell on here, and let's get a feel to see how it's looking. But you can already tell, you know, it's already pretty tight with it just being hand tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the shell on there, and let's see what it's looking like. All right, so we got the top lid and the shell. mounted to the bumper kit. Let's do a test fit. And there it is. Everything's looking good. My heights are all the same on both sides. Looks dead center in the middle of the car. Now, what I want to do is I'll go ahead and tighten up the bumper kit. Make sure it's sturdy in place where I'm gonna want it at. You know, right now would be your time if you wanted to raise up a side a little bit and you got some little bit of wiggle room to make sure it's even. You would go ahead and do so, and then we'll tighten it up. And then we need to put the actuator on there so we can see where we're gonna mount it to. This is the part where I said it comes into play, how far behind the back of the bumper kit is. You can see right here that it's leaning all the way back already, so that gives you a nice flush look. Some people want to have a natural tilt to it. So I'm gonna go ahead, get the actuator, put it on the back, and let's see how we're gonna go ahead and mount that up. I like to do it while the bumper kit is already on the car, because in the very back right here, this is already touching on the bottom of the bumper. You don't want it to hit on there, because then you know it's gonna be scraping the bottom of the shell and the paint off. You'll kind of want to give it just a little bit of room to where it's not rubbing up against anything. So that's why I like to measure and mount the pump while it's already on the car, and at least get my measurements and the placement of where it's going to put it. And then you got to disassemble it all again, mount the pump on there, and you know, just go from there. So all right, so I got the actuator mounted. This is just a little test fit. See how it looks when it's closed. So there it is. I did leave it a little tilted to the front, so the bottom of the shell isn't rubbing against the bumper. Right now it's just held in place with some small screws and stuff. It's not bolted down all the way tight. That's why it has a little bit of play still. You know, it's just a test fit. Make sure that the pump clears whenever it goes down. I'll give you guys a little up close view of it, how the pump looks in there, but that's pretty much it right there. So I know for sure, you know, it goes up and down. Nothing's in a bind. That's it going down. That's it coming up. So now that I know that my pump is aligned and I have it in the spot that I want it to be placed in, I can disassemble, take the top lid off, weld my bracket up, and then I'll be putting the shell back on and getting the right hardware that I need for the top and the bottom of the actuator to be in there tight. And then once I do that and I take it all off and I weld the bracket, I'll pull the tape off, go ahead and wire up my pump. I already have a wire that's hanging down that's fed to my center console to use the switch up and down. And then I'll mount the reverse lights, get everything wired up, put my license plate on, put my license plate light. The license plate light is pretty good because it's literally the original one was right behind it, so all I got to do is splice into that, and then I'll have a light right here for my license plate, and you know, we should be good to go from there. But it's coming out good. Let me go ahead and get everything welded on there and get everything tightened down, and it'll be ready to go. All right, I got the bottom bracket welded onto the plate on the kit. I went ahead and tightened down the two main studs that hold it to the bumper. You can see right here, I got it on there tight and even already. So the kit's on there. The pump is already tightened down. You know, you got to make sure you use the right size screws and stuff so it's not all flimsy and bouncing. As far as the wiring that needs to be done in here, once you have it on, you do got to put your license plate light on there. For the reverse lights, I did not connect them on this one because these fixtures were actually all rusted out, so there was no way for any bulb to even fit in there or make any good contact, so we didn't wire these up. But in that case, there's usually only one wire that comes off of each reverse light, so you'll splice those together and then you'll just tap it into the trigger wire that comes on when your reverse lights come on. And what gives it ground is actually the bumper kit being mounted onto the car, so that grounds the whole thing, and you only need a positive wire. And then you know, the pump is wired up. Whenever you wire everything up, you want to make sure that it's not in the way. Make sure you tape up every point. You can put some wire loom on there so it's not all showing, if you want to be like that with it. But yeah, man, there it is on there. So I'm gonna go ahead, pick it up, let it down. All right, so there it is, man. There's the 5th wheel install. Everything's on there real snug. You know, when you're pulling on it, you don't want to have no play. You don't want to be hitting the bump when you're down the road and you see this just flopping around everywhere. You know, you want to make sure that it's on there tight, man. So whatever you do, just make sure that you're using the right size bolts and you're tightening everything down and welding the bracket in place so nothing's falling out. You don't want to be riding and your lid is falling or your wheels falling out of the shell. So just make sure y'all follow these steps, and I can guarantee you it's gonna be on there. It's gonna be on there nice and right. You can see right here, it's in the middle of the car. You can see how it sits up right up against here. So yeah, man, there it is. This Isaac with Diamonds and Wood Customs. I appreciate y'all watching. If y'all watched the other 2 videos, I appreciate that. If anybody needs a bumper kit, anybody needs one installed, or anybody needs any information or questions on them, you can always hit me up, 713-835-2833.